Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me today. I'm truly grateful to all of you for attending my lecture, and I would also like to express my sincere appreciation to the administrators of the Science Circle for giving me this opportunity. My name is ArianneJP. I usually participate here as an auditing student, and I am also a member of the Lunar Base Project. As I am not fully confident in my spoken English, I respectfully ask for your understanding as I will be using a text-to-speech system for this presentation, just as I did 6 years ago during my lecture on the supercomputer K. I appreciate your patience and consideration. Before moving into the main topic, I would like to briefly touch upon the latest developments in international infectious diseases, focusing on Ebola. A few days ago, news emerged that an Air France passenger flight scheduled to arrive in Detroit was suddenly denied landing and diverted to Canada. The reason was that a departure time screening error revealed that a passenger from the Democratic Republic of the Congo was on board. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention (CDC) has temporarily suspended the entry of foreign nationals who have stayed within the past 21 days in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, South Sudan, or Uganda, where Ebola virus disease is spreading. Even U.S. citizens and permanent residents are now required to enter the country exclusively through Washington Dulles International Airport. Ebola virus disease is caused by the Ebola virus. It is transmitted through contact with the bodily fluids or blood of an infected person. After an incubation period of approximately 2 to 21 days, patients develop symptoms resembling a common cold, such as fever, muscle pain, headache, and sore throat, followed by gastrointestinal symptoms like vomiting and diarrhea, as well as rashes. In severe cases, patients become prone to bleeding, and the fatality rate can reach as high as 90%. Between 2014 and 2016, a major outbreak centered in West Africa resulted in as many as 28,000 infections. Outbreaks have continued to occur in Africa since then. An effective vaccine has not yet been developed. According to the World Health Organization (WHO), up to days ago, 128 cases have been confirmed in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Uganda, with 18 deaths. There are also 1,077 suspected cases, of which 238 have died. On the 27th, WHO Director General Dr. Tedros stated on social media that the situation in the DRC is critical due to the overlap of disease transmission and ongoing conflict, urging all parties involved in the fighting to immediately cease hostilities to help contain the outbreak. These developments remind us that infectious diseases remain a persistent and unpredictable global threat. Even as the world grapples with geopolitical tensions, climate-related disasters, and humanitarian crises, pathogens continue to exploit every weakness in our systems and societies. And it is precisely in this broader context that today's main topic becomes even more significant. Ebola is not an isolated event. It is part of a larger pattern that underscores the urgent need to strengthen global health security, reinforce surveillance, and ensure that no community is left vulnerable. With this in mind, I would now like to turn to the central theme of my presentation, one that concerns not only global health, but also the future of our children and the resilience of our societies. Today, I would like to share with you the exhibit I created in Second Life to support the eradication of polio. Although many of you may already be familiar with the topic, I will begin by briefly revisiting what polio is and how it has shaped its history. I will then present the current global situation of polio, using the latest available data. Finally, I will discuss what is required to eliminate polio completely, and what each of us can do to help achieve that goal. In April 2024, I created a venue in Second Life to host an exhibition on polio eradication. The location was originally where I had once operated an art museum. I had closed the museum and given up the land after the sudden passing of a close friend I had met in Second Life. After several years of inactivity, the land had remained vacant, but I decided to rent it again and quietly resume my activities. 3 months later, several polio cases were reported in the Gaza Strip, which prompted me to rapidly expand the exhibition. For the exhibition design, I received valuable advice from Yan, whom I met through the Science Circle. I am also using the markup script-based web linking system he developed. This slide shows the polio eradication venue in Second Life from several different angles. In the early stages, most of the displays were text-based posters, but over time the number of photographic materials increased. Many of the posters are interactive. When clicked, they open the original information sources in a web browser. To keep the space from feeling too serious, I added flowers, a fountain, and seating areas where visitors can rest. I also installed a visitor counter, so I hope all of you will take the opportunity to stop by and explore the exhibition. I'm originally from Japan, and the exhibition site in Second Life is located near several Japanese-speaking communities. Because many Japanese participants are not fully comfortable with English, I have also installed a Japanese language guide. When visitors click on the posters, they are directed to authoritative Japanese sources, including the Ministry of Health and the National Institute of Infectious Diseases. Following the withdrawal of financial support from the United States and the United Kingdom, a number of countries and international organizations have continued to play a critical role in sustaining global polio eradication efforts. Among the most significant contributors is Saudi Arabia, which has emerged as one of the largest donors in recent years. Other governments, including Canada, France, Belgium, Australia, Hungary, Indonesia, and Japan, as well as several countries in the African region, have also maintained their commitments to the Global Polio Eradication Initiative. In addition to these national partners, several key international organizations remain central to the eradication effort. These include the World Health Organization (WHO), UNICEF, Rotary International, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance. Together, these partners continue to provide essential financial resources, technical expertise, and operational support to countries where polio transmission persists. In Japan, no polio cases have been reported for more than a decade, and as a result, public awareness has diminished. Much of the sustained effort has therefore been carried by Rotary clubs. To date, Japan's cumulative contribution to global polio eradication has reached approximately $165 million. Linden Lab does not publish official statistics on the linguistic distribution of Second Life users. For this reason, I have also prepared a Spanish language guide in addition to the Japanese one. The content is essentially the same as the Japanese guide. However, as I do not speak Spanish myself, I would very much welcome the cooperation of Spanish-speaking participants in refining it. In Second Life, a large proportion of users communicate in English, and the platform's interface is also primarily in English. Moreover, even among users who are not comfortable speaking English, many are able to read and write it. Therefore, at least for the time being, the exhibition will continue to be presented mainly in English. Next, I would like to speak about our outreach activities. Second Life provides an official directory of destinations known as the Destination Guide. Although registration is free and based on self-submission, listings are reviewed according to several criteria. These include whether the venue represents a high-quality implementation, whether it appeals to a broad segment of the Second Life community, including newcomers, whether it offers content that is particularly distinguished or uniquely original, and whether it can be promoted outside Second Life as well. Submissions must also include persuasive and visually engaging screenshots, and the written description must accurately reflect the actual in-world experience. In addition to the searchable directory accessible from the viewer menu, there is also an editor-curated, real-time selection of recommended destinations. Many of you may be interested in how Japanese users, especially those who are not familiar with English, navigate and participate in Second Life. In addition to the official destination guide, there are several independent Japanese language directory websites. One of the most prominent examples is Slink. Slink has been in operation since 2010. By installing a locator on one's own SIM, real-time information is automatically displayed on the website. The main data shown include a description of the site and the current number of visitors, categorized into owners and general visitors. Registration is free, although submissions are reviewed before approval. Unfortunately, Slink does not offer an English version. However, modern web browsers provide full-page translation features, allowing non-Japanese speakers to view the site much as they would any English-based resource. I encourage you to try this function. Please note, however, that text embedded within images or logos will remain in Japanese. This is another Japanese language destination guide called SL Navi. While Slink tends to feature sims focused on social interaction, such as cafes and bars, SL Navi includes a larger number of sims oriented toward entertainment, including games and other interactive experiences. Like Slink, it also provides real-time information showing whether a sim currently has visitors, distinguishing between owners and general visitors. One limitation common to both platforms is that neither offers an English language menu. In addition to these platforms, I also make use of Facebook, X, and a blog for outreach. None of these channels is dedicated exclusively to the polio campaign. Rather, they feature a variety of articles related to Second Life alongside polio-related content. On X, I post news articles about polio, collected from various websites, almost every day. On Facebook, I manage a group that serves as a sister page to the Science Circle, where I share articles primarily sourced from Japan. If you are interested, I warmly invite you to join the group. We would be delighted to have you with us. Compared with these outreach activities conducted outside Second Life, in-world outreach may not yet be sufficient. Nevertheless, I am deeply grateful that an information panel has been installed in the plaza of the Scientia Sim through the kind cooperation of Mr. Curious George. I would like to take this opportunity to express my sincere appreciation. The panel is located very close to the classical concert venue where pianist Ari performs. Wild polio virus continues to circulate in only 2 countries, Afghanistan and Pakistan. Although both nations have reported fewer cases than in the previous year, transmission persists and remains a matter of international concern. At the same time, several regions around the world continue to detect polio virus in wastewater, underscoring the ongoing risk of cross-border spread. Yet in many countries where no cases have been reported for years, public awareness and concern regarding polio have gradually diminished. In light of this, it is essential that we take a moment to revisit the fundamental facts about this disease and reaffirm our collective understanding of the threat it continues to pose. Poliovirus infection is, in fact, silent in the majority of cases. Most individuals who contract the virus show no symptoms at all. However, about 25% develop a mild to moderate illness characterized by headache, fever, sore throat, vomiting, diarrhea, and general fatigue. Only a small proportion of infections progress to involve the central nervous system. When this occurs, the virus causes inflammation, and in some cases destruction, of the motor neurons located in the gray matter of the spinal cord and the brain stem. Once these motor neurons are affected, patients may experience temporary or permanent muscle weakness or motor paralysis, most commonly in the limbs, and especially in the legs. Polio becomes life-threatening when paralysis extends to the muscles responsible for breathing and swallowing. At that stage, without respiratory support, the condition can rapidly become fatal. This slide illustrates the clinical outcomes faced by patients with polio. When the respiratory muscles become paralyzed, patients require what is known as an iron lung. Unlike modern mechanical ventilation through an endotracheal tube, the iron lung allows patients to speak and eat while receiving respiratory support. However, because it makes coughing and clearing secretions extremely difficult, many patients in the past succumb to respiratory infections. On the right side of the slide, you see children who have developed paralysis of both lower limbs. These children often struggle with employment opportunities throughout their lives. There are also exceptional cases, such as a young man who, despite living with paralysis and wearing leg braces, works as a member of a polio vaccination team. Annual reports of polio outbreaks began to emerge from the 1920s through the 1950s. By the 1980s, the global burden of poliomyelitis had escalated to an estimated 350,000 new cases each year, reported across 125 countries. Polio is believed to have existed since ancient times. Ancient Egyptian steles depict individuals with withered limbs characteristic of poliomyelitis, suggesting that the disease was already present thousands of years ago. Similar signs have been noted in prehistoric skeletal remains in Japan. Although the disease had been present for millennia, the first clear clinical description of polio was published in 1789 by the British physician Michael Underwood. From the 18th century onward, written records of outbreaks began to appear. For nearly 2 centuries before vaccines became available, polio caused repeated and sometimes catastrophic epidemics around the world. In the United States, a major outbreak in 1916 resulted in more than 2,000 deaths, and by the mid-20th century, polio was paralyzing or killing over 500,000 people globally each year. The 1952 U.S. epidemic was the worst on record, with more than 57,000 cases and over 3,000 deaths. The first major breakthrough came in the early 1950s. In 1953, Dr. Jonas Salk developed the inactivated poliovirus vaccine IPV, which was licensed in 1955. Following its introduction, the number of cases in the United States dropped dramatically, from 58,000 in 1952 to just 5,600 in 1957, and 161 by 1961. However, while IPV effectively prevented paralysis, it did not sufficiently reduce intestinal viral replication, making it difficult to completely halt transmission. Almost simultaneously, in 1956, Dr. Albert Sabin developed the oral poliovirus vaccine OPV, a live attenuated vaccine capable of inducing strong intestinal immunity. This made OPV particularly effective at stopping outbreaks. By 1958, its effectiveness had been demonstrated in the Soviet Union, the United States, and Canada. In Japan, polio became a notifiable disease in 1947, and between 1949 and the mid-1950s, 1,500 to 3,000 cases were reported annually. While countries using the Salk vaccine saw rapid declines, Japan's adoption lagged, and cases continued to rise. By 1961, the situation had worsened, with 412 cases and 42 deaths reported in a single month. In response, Japan conducted an emergency nationwide OPV campaign on July 21, 1961, achieving an initial coverage rate of about 91%. The results were dramatic. Cases fell to 289 in 1962, 131 in 1963, and 84 in 1964. Routine OPV immunization began in 1963. In 2012, Japan transitioned from OPV to IPV for routine immunization to eliminate the rare risk of vaccine-derived paralysis. Since then, no domestically acquired polio cases have been reported. Over the past decades, antiviral therapies have been developed for several major viral diseases, including varicella-zoster virus and influenza. We now possess effective treatments for hepatitis B, hepatitis C, and HIV, and more recently, antiviral agents have been introduced for COVID-19 as well. However, for many other viral infections, appropriate therapeutic options remain unavailable. Polio is one such disease for which no curative antiviral treatment exists. For infections lacking effective therapeutic interventions, vaccination remains the only viable means of preventing transmission and averting outbreaks. Accordingly, vaccines constitute the cornerstone of global efforts to eradicate polio. With this in mind, I would now like to turn to the principal types of polio vaccines introduced earlier in the historical overview and examine their characteristics, effectiveness, and the respective advantages and limitations that define their use in eradication strategies. Today, I would like to give a brief overview of the main types of polio vaccines and their strengths and limitations. Polio eradication is one of the most ambitious public health efforts in history, and understanding these vaccines helps us appreciate both our progress and the challenges ahead. First, the inactivated poliovirus vaccine IPV, or SOC vaccine. IPV contains an inactivated virus and is given by injection. Its key advantage is excellent safety. It cannot cause vaccine-associated paralytic polio and provides strong protection against paralysis. Its limitation is weak intestinal immunity, meaning vaccinated individuals may still carry and spread the virus. Therefore, IPV alone cannot always stop transmission in high-risk areas. Next, the oral poliovirus vaccine OPV, or Sabin vaccine. OPV uses a weakened live virus and is taken orally. It provides strong intestinal immunity, making it highly effective at stopping transmission and strengthening herd immunity. Its drawback is that, in rare cases, the weakened virus can revert and cause vaccine-derived poliovirus. For this reason, OPV is no longer used in many high-income countries, but it remains essential where rapid interruption of transmission is needed. Newer formulations, such as BOP targeting types 1 and 3 and the genetically stabilized NOP2, aim to reduce risks while maintaining strong immunity. Eradicating polio requires using each vaccine strategically, in the right place and at the right time. In Pakistan, one of the only two countries where polio remains endemic, delivering vaccines involves extraordinary challenges. The Karakoram mountain range, home to the famous K2 peak, lies along the border between Pakistan and China. The towns and villages scattered throughout this region are buried under deep snow in winter. To reach the children living there, vaccination workers must push through heavy snow and climb steep, treacherous mountain paths. Even in the lowlands, access is far from easy. During the summer months, some areas are struck by severe flooding, cutting off roads and blocking the routes of vaccination teams. There are additional challenges in conflict-affected regions, such as parts of Africa or the Gaza Strip, as well as in areas with large populations of displaced families. In these settings, it is extremely difficult to identify and keep track of the children who need to receive the polio vaccine. Another factor hindering polio eradication in Pakistan is the spread of unfounded rumors promoted by certain extremist groups. These rumors take many forms. Some stem from a lack of understanding about vaccines, such as claims that the vaccine contains pork products or alcohol. Others go further, alleging that vaccination is part of a conspiracy to eliminate Muslims. These irresponsible falsehoods have had deadly consequences. Since the 1920s, more than 200 vaccination workers and the police officers protecting them have been killed in shootings and bomb attacks carried out by individuals influenced by such misinformation. Tragically, just a few days ago, 2 police officers lost their lives in another attack. Despite all these challenges, the world has come remarkably close to eradicating polio. The slide you see here features the slogan "We are this close," shown in many different languages and held by well-known figures. These posters were created by Rotary International. Bill Gates, through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, has also contributed substantial funding to the global effort to end polio. However, recent shifts in international aid policies have created serious setbacks. The United States has halted its contributions to USAID as part of a drastic change in its approach to foreign assistance. The United Kingdom has also suspended portions of its international aid budget, citing increased spending on European security. As a result, the United Nations has been forced to scale back its support through UNICEF. Some observers have even suggested that the recent resurgence of Ebola may be linked to this global retreat in public health capacity. Today, the world is confronting a wide range of global crises. We see the advance of desertification and the rise in wildfires driven by climate change. We witness sea level rise caused by the melting of polar ice, and we continue to face the human and economic toll of conflicts, along with a growing number of displaced people. The list, unfortunately, is long. Yet as we consider these urgent challenges, it is essential that we do not overlook another threat that continues to endanger millions of lives: infectious diseases. The COVID-19 pandemic remains fresh in our collective memory, but beyond emerging pathogens, many long-standing and dangerous diseases have still not been eliminated. The most lethal creature on Earth is, in fact, the mosquito. Malaria alone claims approximately 600,000 lives every year, the majority of them young children. And this brings us to another disease that has shaped global health efforts for decades: polio. Polio is one such dangerous infectious disease. And yet, unlike many others, it is one we stand on the verge of eradicating. Just as the world once succeeded in eliminating smallpox, I firmly believe that the eradication of polio is within our reach. Children are our hope, the hope we entrust to the future. And because of that, we must do everything we can to protect them from infectious diseases. Polio is a disease we can prevent with a vaccine. That means it is a disease we have the power to erase from this world. And so, I ask you to join me in sending warm encouragement and heartfelt support to all those who continue their vaccination work, often in places where the challenges are far greater than we can imagine. Their dedication is what keeps children safe, and what brings us closer to a world free of polio.
1 2 3 1 2 3 testing. Can you hear me clearly?
That concludes my presentation for today. I would like to express my sincere gratitude for your attention and for staying with me throughout this talk. Your interest and engagement give great strength to all of us who continue working toward a world free of polio. As a gesture of appreciation, I would like to send each of you a heartfelt fist bump, a small symbol of solidarity, encouragement, and our shared commitment to taking the final steps toward eradication. Thank you once again for your kind attention.